Hello world, I'm Sabrina, and I'm back after so long of not making videos. I'm in a new setup today, trying out some new things. Enjoy my maiden mother crown plaque while we do this video. I think it's appropriate because today I want to talk about feminism and witchcraft. Now, I don't have a degree in women's studies. I don't want to talk about whether or not I consider myself a feminist because I think that's irrelevant for this video, but I was reading the book Drawing Down the Moon by Margot Adler a couple of months ago, and it got me thinking about the idea of femininity, the divine feminine. Why does it seem that in the witchcraft community, not only does it seem to be predominantly female or people that associate as female, but there's this giant emphasis on femininity, the divine feminine, goddesses. Why is there so much feminine? And so we're just going to chit-chat today. It's going to be a pretty casual video, and I'd love to hear your thoughts at the end of this video. If you have thoughts, if anything I says sparks debate or discourse in you, I'd love to hear it. And I got notes down here, so I'm going to be looking down here a lot. So, why does everything seem to be female dominated? And when you think of a witch, when you ask like a 5-year-old, you know, oh, you want to be a witch for Halloween, what are you going to wear? Excuse me. There always seems to be this archetype of the old hag, right? She's like this grizzled old lady, big nose, big chin, warts, the hat. And later on in pop culture, you know, we get the green skin from Wizard of Oz, but that's a whole other video about, you know, the progression of the witch. But it always seems to go back to a female, an older female, an ugly female. And I thought that was interesting considering a lot of pantheons in the magical witchy community seem to focus on female goddesses, but most of them are younger-ish, usually some sort of beautiful as culture accepts beauty. So I think that's interesting because the original witch in your brain is this old lady, but most people that, you know, if you have a goddess that you subscribe to, she's usually somebody younger and somebody more beautiful. So why is it we as witches, practitioners, and magical folks gravitate towards these beautiful women, but in the back of your head there's always this old hag archetype? And it's interesting too because in traditional Wicca, at least, there seems to be a good balance between male and female energies, the god and the goddess. So when did that kind of split off and things more heavily go towards female goddesses, towards female empowerment, female energy? And the craft itself, most practitioners will tell you there's some sort of power involved in your practice. Yes, you could be practicing because of religious reasons, because it's in your family lineage, because you like to help people and yourself, but at the end of the day, I believe that there's still a form of power that comes from witchcraft, from practicing, a personal power. So it makes sense that women, especially looking at the book Drawing Down the Moon, when it was written in the early 70s, I think, originally. It's gone through many editions, but originally it was in the 70s. That was at the beginning of the women's lib movement. So all these people that were drawn to witchcraft and magic, they were looking for another source of personal power because they weren't getting it in their daily life from their society, from their government, from their culture. So I like that. Okay, here's a great one too. If you're in the broom closet, if you're a secret witch, if you are a female witch, feminine associating witch in the closet, are you denying this power to yourself? That's a soul-searching question. That's like a journal prompt. I think yes. Personally, yes, I think so. I think on the one hand, people have many reasons for remaining in the closet, the broom closet, but I think you are denying your power, your strength, and your ability as a woman to do magic with the best of them and celebrate the earth fully. But again, where does the old hag come in? Where does the crone come in? Now I think a lot of people are reclaiming that word crone. Older witches that I know, not all of them refer to themselves as crones. Not all of them are at the crone age, I guess. But I would like to see that word hold not just a power, not just an experience, but a reverence. Like, you have earned the term crone as a person. Just like a grandma or a great-grandma, like, you earned sitting on the couch at Christmas and not having to clean up the dishes, you know, because you've had a whole life and you've done a lot of work. So I think it's kind of in the same vein. And if you want to look at stereotypical aspects of masculine and feminine, what do you think of when I say masculine? Typically people will think of force, strength, power, vitality, like energy. If you think of like sun gods, war gods, they're all like, you know. But if you think of a female goddess, you think of female energy, you think of gentling, you think of nurturing, you think the word mother, whether or not that person is a mother. But there is a great strength in being a mother. I've recently become one, and it takes a lot of strength. So why is it that when you think of the term mother, you immediately go to gentle nurturing as opposed to immediately thinking strength? First of all. So both of these energies, female and male, are needed in the natural world. Everything has a give and a take and a flow, and there's a time to be powerful and there's a time to be restful. And going back to the gods and goddesses part, there are goddesses of war, there are goddesses of sex, I think there's a sun goddess, there's fire goddesses, Pele. These are all stereotypically powerful aspects, powerful energies. But why is it that if you, as a practitioner, why do you immediately go for a female that is gentle and kind and a male that is strong and powerful? I feel like I see that a lot. I would love to be proven wrong, but I feel like I see that a lot, or that it is expected as the norm, even though there are goddesses that do powerful things and gods that do gentle things. And then on that same vein, why are some war goddesses seen as too aggressive? Like, some of the myths about Freya are like, she's a ball-busting bitch and she's gonna come and get you. Whereas you look at Ares and it's like, yeah, he's pretty forceful, but it's like, well, boys will be boys, kind of expected thing. Why is it if a female goddess is strong, she is too strong? She, you know, if the other gods and goddesses can't like rein her in, then she'll just go crazy. And girl power. These female goddesses that are war goddesses, that are sex goddesses, like, I think this is the stuff the Spice Girls were talking about originally with girl power. You know, fight your fight. Have sex with who you want to have sex with, if you want to. That sort of thing. And I think that's where the feminism comes from, is these goddesses that typically were thought of as trouble or a handful. We now, as witches and practitioners, call upon these goddesses because we're like, I like you. You kind of stepped out of the box. You didn't shut your mouth when people told you to shut your mouth. So I want to call on those energies in my spell work. Why not? When you think of a goddess, who's the first goddess that comes to your mind? I usually flip-flop between either Freya or Bridget, and they're very different. The patron goddesses, the patron saints, of very different things. The goddess that you chose, What is she the goddess of? Is it something more gentle, more passive, more female, more womanly, or is she kind of like a ball-busting bitch? I think that says a lot about you as a person as well, and the kinds of energies that you like to call on. And I think it says a lot about the kind of person that you want to be. And for me, Freya and Bridget kind of make a nice balance of each other. So I have one that's strong and tough, and then I have another one that's strong and tough, but in a different way, in a more gentle, traditionally gentle way. So it's like picking out a t-shirt. Whatever energy, whatever feeling you have that day, you pick your clothing to match that and project that out into the world. So I think that's another reason why females might have gravitated towards magic in the first place, because every aspect of the word female kind of leans towards a more gentler, calmer energy. And that's all fine and well, but if we're going back to a want and a need of personal power, you want to tap into those stronger, more forceful energies in your practice. Going back to the crone, people use the term sage a lot, or maybe even, an old wizard type. You think of Merlin, you think of this old grizzled man as well, but whereas a crone, you think of haggy, nosy, warty lady, but Merlin is just a nice old guy with a giant staff and a pointy hat, and he's going to help you do stuff. So I think, again, that is a cultural thing where we want to associate the old men, or like Santa Claus too. Merlin and Santa Claus, jolly old happy men that are old, but we still like them, versus the old hag crone, and we're going to leave her in her hut in the woods, and don't let your children run off because she's going to eat them or turn them into frogs or something. So why did that happen? How did that happen? I think that too is another big reason why a lot of women gravitate towards magic and witchcraft, because you want to undo this hag thought. I'm going to make that a phrase. Undo the hag thought. And if you want to look at feminism as a movement, as a word, it's supposed to be, at the end of the day, equality among the sexes. I'm not going to get into any other of the political stuff, but at the end of the day, I believe that feminism is about equality. So, are you, as a witch, as a practitioner, being sexist by only focusing on the female, feminine aspects of your practice, of goddesses, of the earth and energies? I think we as witches a lot of times are looking for equality and pushing for equality in many aspects of our culture. But does then this make those of us that focus on more feminine things hypocrites? I don't know. And the word itself, witch, most people think of a woman. I know a couple of men in the magical community that call themselves witches, but I would also say that some of them might call themselves magicians. Magician still sounds like a male word, even though they would say, yeah, I'm a witch, but I'm also a magician. Or if you meet a male witch, are they proud to immediately say, oh yeah, I'm a witch, or I'm a practitioner, or maybe like a more gender neutral term. And if you're a woman, if you're female, if you associate as female, are you immediately one to say, yeah, I'm a witch? Or do you use a different term, maybe a more gender neutral term? And then here's another thing that happens a lot in the witch community, moon rituals with the ladies. The moon has a feminine energy, and menstrual cycles typically follow the pattern that a waning and waxing moon does, so I understand the associations. But I've never experienced a moon circle with a man in the group. And honestly, a lot of moon circles that I've participated in don't allow men or people that associate as men. So if we as witches are looking for feminism, equality, empowerment, why aren't we including men in these rituals? I understand that cis men will never understand menstrual cycles. So, if that is the whole part of your moon cycle, is celebrating menstruation, then I understand why you wouldn't want to include men. Or if you have a moon circle that wants to talk about life, not necessarily like a childbirth thing, but it's in the conversation. Men won't understand that. Okay, that's fine. But should we include them? Should we offer them the opportunity to be a part of these discussions so that they can understand what we're going through? You can create a safe space regardless of sex or gender. So I don't think that's a valid argument of we need to exclude men because I might not feel comfortable talking about my period or my childbirth experience with a man in the room. I want to talk about it with everybody. I want it to be normalized. Silly me. So I think we should include men in our moon rituals. And I think the other part of moon rituals is a more meditative, calming, quiet goal experience that these circles have. So if we invite men to the moon circles, we're encouraging being gentle, being passive, being intuitive. On the flip side, if you men out there have big, fiery solar rituals celebrating gods of war, gods of the sun, gods of fire, let's include women in that so we can kind of strengthen ourselves up a little bit more and understand the male stereotypes of you always have to be strong, you can't cry, stiff upper lip sort of thing. I think we should include each other in these aspects of our practice. And there was a whole section in Drawing Down the Moon of separate spiritual spaces for women in the early 70s. That seems why the New Age movement kind of took off, especially with women, is because they wanted their own space, just women, to worship, to celebrate, to practice, to whatever. And the witchcraft community has the ability to create these spaces. Is that necessary now? Do we still need separate sacred spaces as women? And I think this goes back to the moon circles thing. Do we need to be separate for a lot of these rituals from men? Maybe yes, maybe no. I think some celebrations, some Sabbats, some magical workings require men and women. And I think most traditional Wiccans will tell you absolutely you need a high priest and a high priestess. Looking at the wheel of the year, there's feminine and masculine Sabbats, feminine and masculine times of the year. But you need both of these energies in order to have a calendar year, to have seasons, to have growth and expansion and death and rest. So why not embrace both of these energies all the time? Yes, midsummer is about the sun and the sun's power and the strength of the sun, but there has to also be a feminine aspect in there because the earth is super fruitful right now at midsummer. The plants are growing, the trees are alive, the bunnies are hopping around. There's an expansion of the feminine as well as the masculine, and you can go vice versa for more feminine holidays. Where's the male aspect? Can you incorporate that into your practice as a witch? Yes, that's your homework. Figure it out. So, in conclusion, my long ramble. Feminism and witchcraft. It exists sometimes, I think it exists when it's convenient to each practitioner, but I also think each practitioner, each witch, each magician will tell you something different, will believe something different. And I don't think it's wrong, and I don't think it comes from a place of malice. I think we as witches have a responsibility to the world to be as inclusive as possible when we can. Anytime we can, to be as inclusive as possible. So, thanks for coming. So good to see you. And I'll see you on the other side.